Hello, everybody. Really sorry that we're starting late. Just had some technical problems, which been quite stressful and frustrating for us, and feeling really bad about Jeanie having to go through that. But anyway, it's International Women's Day, and here with us for our second talk of the day is Jeanie Finlay, who is a filmmaker. I would say arguably one of Britain's best and most recognised documentary filmmakers. She's made, I think, you have to correct me. Are we on 7 feature films or
No, I've made 8.
8?
I've made 8, and I'm about to start. I'm currently making number 9.
Fantastic. So she's made 8 and on her 9th feature film, won multiple awards, done some absolutely incredible stuff. So we are very lucky to have her here with us. So Jeanie, deep breath.
What's quite funny to me is I can deliver a full feature film to HBO to go out in 190 countries worldwide, but making teams work is like the pain of my life. Anyway, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I would say happy International Women's Day, but I would also remind people that women are for life, not just for one day a year, and that, you know, seek out work made by women and make sure that you're hearing from lots of women at your college all of the time. And if you're not, talk to your tutors about that. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm really I'm speaking to you from Broadway Cinema in Nottingham, so I'm literally probably around the corner from a lot of you. Yeah, and it's great to be here to tell you a bit about the work that I make. I put a little presentation together, but Teams, I think, is a bit allergic to it. So we're going to, instead, John's just going to ask me some questions about some of the films that I've made and how I've made a career as a working filmmaker. I'm just going to show you a few projects that I've done.
Okay, great. Well, initially we had discussed looking at 4 of your films, and I wondered if it might make sense just to start by trying to show them, say, the trailer from Sound It Out, and then we could bring some questions together from that. Would that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Okay, well, I am going to...
Do you want me to share it? Maybe that would just
I don't
stop
mind
anything from going wrong. I'll give it a go because I'm worried about Mac issues happening again.
I think I might have it now. Shall we just? Yeah. Let me just hold on.
Wow,
Bear with me. So my screen should be sharing, and so this is.
Go to the top slide.
Yeah. It just took a moment to. Can you see the full screen presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So. There we go. Okay, so this should be a video, I think, is it? Let me just come out of that.
I mean, if you just go up to the top of the slides, that would be great.
Yeah.
So let's try from the beginning.
Let's try.
See if we get audio.
Okay, so let me.
So this is my website, and if anyone wants to find out more about my work, there's links to watch almost everything on my website, and there's loads of sort of behind the scenes and making of images. I put hello there because I was going to say hello to you guys. Hello. If we go to the next slide. So I started off as an artist, and I made work as an artist for a long time, and I was always really interested in telling people's stories, and that was something that I found really difficult to do as an artist. But once I started photographing people, I used to photograph people, and the stories that they told me were the work. There was a sort of moment where I realized that the stories that people told me could be the core content of what I did, and so I started to film them. So it was as organic as that. And I made an interactive documentary. When I was presenting that work in a gallery, the the curator was installing this big installation work, Homemaker, said to me, I don't think you need all this stuff. I think the films are enough. And I was like, I had this sort of moment which was just like, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to tell stories. And the appeal for documentary for me was the idea that you could tell a different kind of story. You could put people on television or in cinemas who were shy, who had small stories, and that you could then show them internationally, and the camera and the broadcast acted like a loudhailer, and that seemed like a really, really powerful thing. Now, I really love Dolly Parton, and this quote, find out who you are and do it on purpose, is something that's like a driving force behind all of my work, because I think that that's what the work of being a creative person is. It's about finding the skills that you have and translating those into everything that you do. So I think about Dolly a lot. And can we have the next slide, please, Deborah? I also think about Columbo, because my cameraman used to call me the Columbo of documentary filmmakers. I've got here a signed photograph of Peter Falk as Columbo. Now his catchphrase was just one more thing. And really often when people had finished telling their story in the show, he would just go in for one more thing. And usually it's the one more thing is the sort of the glimmer of an idea, the glimmer of truth, and the kernel of the heart of a story. And so, yeah, I'm obsessed with Columbo. And also, he's someone that's massively underestimated. Sometimes, you know, you can think that you're shy or shambling and that your ideas may not hold merit, but like I said before, when you're filling a television screen and you're filling a cinema screen, and you can hold people's attention, it's really liberating as a creative person. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? So I'm going to talk to you first of all about Sound It Out. Now, Sound It Out is a film that I made in a record shop 3 miles from the place where I grew up. It was the 3rd feature documentary that I made. I was stuck in legal hell on a film called The Great Hip Hop Hoax, and I'd been pitching some stories around, and also my mum was going through breast cancer treatment. And I spent a lot of time in Sound It Out Records speaking to Tom, the guy that you can see in this illustration here. And whenever I went in there, I just sort of thought, this is the best place in the Northeast. This is the best place in the place that I call home. And I sort of looked around and I realized that everyone in there was seeking a haven from something. And it seemed really obvious to me that I should make this into a film. Now, I tried pitching it to the BBC and I was told, this is too small, it's too boring, it's not enough to make a film out of. And I had this sort of realization that you can make a film about anything, you just may not get the money. And so we decided to crowdfund it. And this became one of the very first crowdfunded films in the UK. We subsequently did 4 crowdfunding campaigns, and we released it internationally. It had its premiere at South by Southwest, and it went to cinemas all over this country, but also in America and Germany and Canada. And it was amazing. It just sort of taught me that you could make a small story international. So can we go to the next slide, please? And then there's a little tiny clip of a regular who used to come into the record shop all of the time. Now, hopefully, you'll be able to hear this.
Debs, we don't seem to have audio.
Debs is on mute, so I don't know if that also is a problem.
Debs, are you there? She was there a second ago. Oh, she replied to a conversation we're in. Yeah, she wants me to unmute her, but I don't have that option, Debs. Right, let me try the nuclear option. Mute all, and then unmute all. No, Debs, I can't unmute you. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay, right. I'm going to if we can't share any sound, then what I'm going to do is take you to the website where you can see at least a trailer. Like that should give you
that would be great.
Okay, let me just open up Safari.
Oh,
sorry, I've unmuted now. Sorry, yeah, the sound's just not coming through on that video. I could try and play it now that I've unmuted, but I don't know what the quality is going to be like. So shall we just give it a go?
Why not? Go crazy.
Right. Okay. So.
No, we can't really hear it, Debs. Let's try sharing the trailer from the website.
Okay.
I'll go for that because I think there might be.
Just go to JeanieFinlay.com.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so sound out, there it is. And I will share some content, and I will include my computer sound, and hopefully this will work. We're about to find out.
Yeah, great.
Hello, Sound Out Records. I am the only record shop left, yes. I'm the only one left in Teesside now. It is fantastic, but it's sad. It's emotions. It's all about emotions records. Emotions and memories. I can tell you exactly what I was doing when I play a record. Where I was, who I was going out with. It's all about memories. Records hold memories. In Stockton, I do sell a lot of heavy metal because it's a hard area. It's people into heavy metal and you get them into hard dance music. Oh.
Your DJ Frankie slamming on the bounties inside the house crew. Let's do this.
It's not the ordinary people. It's the random people.
Call it Jacksons.
The Jacksons best of, or?
No, it's the English Jacksons, not the American Jacksons.
Right.
They call him Mike Jackson. He written this
He
song.
wrote the song,
He written
Blame
the
on the
song.
Boogie, didn't he?
That's the one.
Anything you want, you can get it in here. I like me quote. People say I'm mad, but I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't have a woman, so, what more do you want?
'Cause I don't need no superpower. 'Cause my monsters are scared of you. When you smile,
I'd say 99% boys and 1% girls come in and buy records. Yeah, out of every 100, maybe one girl. That's terrible. I don't know what it is. It's just blokes do like to collect things and they like to keep hold of their youth, I suppose. Never grow up. I don't want to grow up. It's full of responsibilities.
So I would say that, you know, even though this is like the third film I'd made, there was something about this film that taught me so much, that made me, that taught me so much about being a filmmaker. It was a film where I completely followed my instinct. I found the people that appealed to me, that I wanted to tell a story of the Northeast that felt like it hadn't been cooked up in a commissioning office in London, where people had never set foot out of the M25. And I wanted to have music that was made within 5 miles of the shop, and to tell the stories of the people that I found. Initially, I thought, oh, I'll find a brilliant female character, and, you know, I want parity of men and women's stories. But what I realized when I started filming in the shop was that this was a film about men, because it was all men. I was the 1% female customer in the shop. It was me in the mirror. So, and also when we showed the film at South by Southwest, and I don't know if you know about South by Southwest, but it's one of the largest film and music festivals in the world in Austin, Texas. And when you show a film there, it's like a genuine blockbuster. Everything sells out. You have people clamoring to see your film, and it's the most sort of overwhelming yet amazing experience in the world. We took Tom. It was the first time he'd ever been to America, and he didn't want to answer any questions, and the audience screamed and shouted for Tom to come on stage. And I feel overwhelmed even just thinking about it now. And eventually the BBC bought the film after saying that they didn't want it. They didn't see that. What they were saying was it wasn't worth their risk. And once I sort of removed the risk, because the film was made, it had a proven audience, they showed it, and it trended on Twitter higher than Children in Need, which felt like the biggest thing ever. But also what it did was it sort of branded me as a filmmaker who cared about people's stories, and it meant that commissioners trusted me, and they were like, what do you want to make next? And we'd been stuck in legal hell on The Great Hip Hop Hoax, and one of the guys from The Great Hip Hop Hoax came to a very special screening of Sound It Out on Record Store Day at Rough Trade in London, and he just went, yeah, the film's great, do you want to make that other film? So we went straight into production on The Great Hip Hop Hoax for Storyville, and yeah, similarly we took that around the world afterwards. So it was a really interesting and sort of positive experience, really.
Jeanie, did you want to pause for some questions, or did you want to plough on to the next one? It's entirely up to you.
I mean, if people have got questions, then I'm happy to answer them. But
so I've got do ask questions in the chat, please. The more questions, the better. Just following on from Sound It Out, I read a really great quote from you where you said that it's a film where you can literally see you learning. But there's a lot of camera wobble, but you don't care. It just captures the whole spirit of the shop. So how much is that sort of part of how you operate, learning on the job?
Absolutely, like 100%. I think it's better to finish a project 100% and be 90% completely satisfied with it than to there's a lot of filmmakers who are obsessed with the gear. They're gear nerds. They've got sliders and cranes, and and I've worked with those sorts of things, but I think that for me, intimacy tops everything. So my editor laughs. She calls it my Wobblesworth cam. On the Game of Thrones film I made, even though we had like a really big budget for that, and I worked with 5 different DPs, 5 very skilled, brilliant DPs, the intimate one-on-one stuff was still filmed by me in the back of a car. I've refined the kit I've got so it's smaller. now, so it means that I can hold a camera for a long period of time.
Mm.
But I'm more interested in, can I carry it? Does it give me broadcast quality sound? Than boring lens talk. It's all
Yeah.
gets a bit sort of. It's
And by
just
having it smaller, does it make it, a bit less intrusive? Helps people kind of forget that
I
it's there,
sort
or
of don't want them to forget, because I think that the camera is a visual contract that we're there to make a film.
Yeah.
We're not there because we're, I'm not there because I want to be great friends with these people, even if I love them. But
Yeah.
the camera, consent is really, really important, and it's something that people should be really, really transparent about. Like, if you take part in this film, it may change your life.
Yeah.
Are you prepared for that? And I take the responsibility of the edit very, very seriously, because I know that we can. I know the power I have in terms of shaping someone's story for a public audience, and it's something you have to really take seriously and think about deeply.
Yeah. Wow. And just sort of one last thing before moving on. Self-shooting. I mean, early on, especially, you did a lot of shooting yourself. Was that by design or by necessity? Was it something you consciously wanted to do, or was it more a case of just having to make a situation work?
Well, arguably, I do as much, if not more, self-shooting now than I ever did. I trust my instinct. I value the intimacy of self-shooting. Like, the first two films I made, I didn't lift a camera, and I started shooting on Sound It Out because I didn't have any money. So that was a necessity thing, and also, like we discussed, it suited the ramshackle nature of the shop. But as I've got older and more skilled, and my kit's better, like, I know what I'm doing. I'm using prime lenses, really good kit. But I know that for things like, for example, if Freddie McConnell, the trans guy in Seahorse, is giving birth, and he said, "You're the only person who's allowed to shoot it," I better step up. I've got to learn that. And on Game of Thrones, I'll be in a massive set. But if the only time I can get with someone that's intimate is in the back of a car, then I better step. I was going to say something rude then, but I'm not. I was going to quote RuPaul, but I better not.
It's okay. We can cope. We can cope with.
Anyway, but I mean, I better like pull my finger out and get the camera out and like know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I would encourage anyone to just start shooting. That's the beauty and the skill and the amazingness of direct cinema, of making documentaries, is that as soon as I pull the camera out of the bag, I could be shooting something that's broadcast quality.
Yeah.
As long as the sound's good. Like, sell a lens and buy a microphone.
Good advice. I love that.
The best advice. People will forgive crap visuals any day of the week, but if they can't hear you, they won't speak to you.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. Do you want to carry on with out interruption from me?
Okay. Well, I mean, the next film that I've come to show you, if we skip a slide and go to the next slide, is the Panto poster. So yeah, Panto is a film that I made in Nottingham. Now, I was cutting The Great Hip Hop Hoax, and I knew that I wanted to make a film about the pantomime that takes place at the Nottingham Arts Theatre on Heathcote Street. It's one road away from Broadway Cinema, where I'm based. And I used to go to this panto, and I knew that it was just brilliant. I knew it was brilliant because it's Amdram. And the thing that's amazing about amateur dramatics is that people on stage run the full gamut of, could be on the West End if circumstances had been different, to would only ever get a shot in this cinema at this time. And I think that pantomime's a really interesting thing because it's uniquely British. And people have got other lives. If they're doing Amdram, they may be a doctor, or have a different life when they're not on stage, and I thought that that's interesting. And films where I can combine observational material, so watching something unfurl in real time, is really interesting to me. Creation stories are really interesting to me. And I intercut that observed material with interviews, so getting to know people, and you get to know them over the events of a film. Now, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to show the clip, but if you go to my website, I think that there's a clip of Panto.
Yeah,
So,
I was watching one this morning actually, so should be able to do that. Bear with me. Do do do.
I know, I'm not sure what clip this is.
What are you doing? It feels like you're sticking it right in the eye. How? Because I'm not. All the men basically don't know what they're doing. So they're running to our dressing room asking us if we can do their makeup and hair and put their wigs on. And so, yeah, it's getting rather fraught. Not due to us, due to all the men that don't know how to put
Always the
makeup
men's
on.
fault.
It's always men's fault, obviously. Of course it is.
Tilt your head forward from me.
Yeah.
Right, Barry, for the sake of you wearing this, I'll wear it, and at least it gives a bit more cover then. Yeah.
Is the donkey costume proving a bit of a headache?
Just a bit. The legs are not tailored or fitted or anything like that. It's just more like a sort of poncho sort of thing, really. So it left the undercarriage somewhat exposed, you know. This will be the first panto with an 18 certificate on it.
It's the first time I've seen it.
Don't ask about the costume. Cass has altered it, and I don't know what she's done with it at all.
Yeah, we came back to town. Ooh, did you go too, donkey? Oh, on the tram.
But the costume's totally wrong. So you can see that there's two guys in grey tights.
Oh, those tights are awful.
Well, but that's why Glenn had got that additional bit. I'm going to put their trousers on. They've got knickerbocker trousers. They're going to have to wear them.
Bollocks. I'm not ready. It's not going to fire. Not firing.
Okay, so that shows you a little clip of the donkey. Basically, there's everything that could go wrong goes wrong with the panto, but they sort of make it through in the end, I guess. It's a really intricate edit on Panto. It's a film that we I think we had 4 or 5 cameras running at a time. So it might be that you'd have a camera in the dressing rooms, a camera on stage, a camera in the wings, and so we were piecing together everything as it went along and unfurling it in real time. I'd identified who my characters were, and I think something that's really important is to think about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, and because you could just shoot anything, but if you're not shooting from someone's point of view, you're just shooting B-roll, you're shooting cutaways. So we always use radio mics and headphones, and we're following people from people's stories. So it became really apparent when I went into, it's a bit wobbly because I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm there, and I go into the men's dressing room and I see the glory of the donkey costume that is absolutely appalling. So then I have to run upstairs and go, Mark, make sure you get the donkey because it looks terrible. And this is quite funny because there's a whole ongoing thing with the costume department have got no money because they're battling against recession. Because of the recession, the rehearsal time for the pantomime has been cut down. So instead of having 5 days to get in and get ready, they have 1 day, which means that there's just no time for anything at all. Now, Deborah, do you mind if we scroll in this talk right to, if we skip Seahorse, but then we go straight to Game of Thrones The Last Watch, which is slide 13. Because I made Panto in 2014. Well, it went out on, it was like the Christmas film for BBC4 in 2014. And then I was invited to make a film about, to be embedded on the final season of Game of Thrones in 2019. If we go to the previous window, which is the poster, yeah, there we go. If you see here, that's me there with a little camera embedded into the poster, and these are some of the characters that I decided to follow. So I was asked to make a film about the final season, about the triumphs and the teacup, the disasters in teacups at the heart of the largest show in the world, largest television show in the world. At first I was quite daunted, and then I just sort of thought, why? I mean, all I can do is just trust the process and treat this in exactly the same way I would any other film. And I thought a lot about Panto, and I made all my team watch Panto, because in principle they're doing the same thing. They're rallying together and putting on a show. Will they get to the end? Now, the thing that's interesting with HBO and Game of Thrones is that because they had so much money, it wasn't like they were going to have a disaster in the same way. And so it became apparent to me quite quickly that we weren't going to uncover the problems that the arts theatre Panto had, but that human beings are human beings, and we could follow their story throughout the season. So that's what I did. I cast the film. I said to the creators when they commissioned me, you need to trust me and allow me to find the film. And so I said, I need 4 months where I'll just wander around on set and see what's going on, and I'll find my people. And they trusted me. They already had a very well-paid, well-resourced behind-the-scenes team who could show you how to make a dragon or how a set gets built. So I was trying to show you the emotional impact of working in Westeros and building the show. So if we go to my website, the trailer should be embedded on there, and if you want to watch the whole film, you can watch it on it's on Now TV. It's available everywhere that you can watch Game of Thrones, basically.
This is strange. Here we are at the last table read. It's like looking around and seeing your family.
It's our biggest season ever.
Every episode has as much in it as one feature film.
It's like, oh my God. What was I thinking?
Winter's coming, yeah.
I can't even begin to imagine how this is going to look on TV.
Here we go. Been doing night shoots. I'm broken.
I could not have worked harder. I really have given this everything I have.
It's such a magical place. It's hard to say goodbye to everybody.
That was Amelia's last shot on Game of Thrones.
This is a dream job, a director. This show saved my life.
It's hard to fathom that I'll never be coming back. Best thing I've ever done.
So this film went out in the Game of Thrones slot in 189 countries worldwide the week after the final ever episode of Game of Thrones. And it was a very overwhelming experience. I'm not sure what's sort of interesting to know about it. there was like, here's a picture from the final table read, which you can see in the trailer. Now, initially, I was told that I couldn't film this and that no one would be interested in it. And so I went to see the showrunners and just sort of said to them, "Look, I'm not going to come. I'm not going to come to you with every request, but this is one that I need you to take seriously. You've got to let me film this." And Kit Harington he'd had a problem with his digital scripts because they only get paper scripts on the day because of security. And he'd not read anything, so he was discovering his fate in real time. So I filmed from the right-hand side, just to the right of Miguel Sapochnik, who's the director, and here's David Nutter. My cameraman, Mark, filmed to the left here. We were told we were allowed to film as long as we didn't walk around, so we like put magic arms on our tripods and filmed, just put like loads of cameras attached. So I had like two cameras and then a little spare one, just trying to key in on what was going on, so getting a safety wide and then going really close on a like paparazzi lens on people's faces as they were reacting to stuff. And it's wild now when I see clips from this memed or shown, and I sort of look at it and go, oh yeah, I filmed that. I had my face on Emilia Clarke's face. That was my camera. It's kind of very surreal and weird. And the selection of people that I chose for the film were commented on a lot. I wanted to find characters that you wouldn't normally hear from, and I wanted to make the stars of Game of Thrones, the actors, just like extras in my film. So we get to know Kit Harington, we get to know Emilia Clarke a bit, but we're mainly focused on the most passionate extra in the background of the scene, the woman who does Emilia's hair, the woman who sells sort of heart-stopping, massive doorstep sandwiches on set, and the executive producer, the woman who keeps the wheels turning on the show. Yeah, it was a crazy experience. And these are the tapestries that I had made for the opening of the film. I've got a clip to show you, but I don't think it's going to work. But yeah, I had tapestries woven of the poster and the film after I'd sort of had a dream about what I wanted the film, what I wanted the opening titles to look like, and I'd seen a tapestry. There's a tapestry in the Museum of Ulster in Northern Ireland, and so I knew that we could make this. But this was an enormous sort of like logistical challenge. We were filming in Northern Ireland in all weathers, in Iceland on a glacier, in Seville in 40-degree heat, and there was like rabid fans waiting at the hotel. We got stalked by paparazzi. We filmed in Dubrovnik, and is that everywhere we filmed? Seville, Dubrovnik, Iceland, Northern Ireland. Oh, Los Angeles. We filmed in Los Angeles as well. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, Jeanie, you mentioned earlier that you're really interested in giving time to shy people, and maybe giving them a voice, digging into their stories. So the Game of Thrones Last Watch was quite a big departure for you, maybe? Is that fair to say? Or not? No? Okay.
It's completely, I really disagree, because the box it's in is different, like in terms of scale of money and broadcast, but the characters were all they're all people who knew who they were, but they weren't loud. They weren't people who shouted loudly. They were people that you might not ever meet. They were all people I wouldn't meet, like the guy, like the guy who did this, Dell, who's the snowman, the guy who brings the snow. Winter is coming, and it's brought by a guy called Dell. If you if you scroll down on the talk, if you go to slide 18, there's if you just go down on the next one. So this is the snow. He runs a company called Snow Business, and snow is everywhere. And if you go to the next snow, this is Dell applying the snow, and was so sort of like particular and passionate about what he was doing. I'd got a little clip of him. It's annoying, I can't show you it, but yeah. And there's people like David Nutter. If you go to the next slide after that, oh, this is like a bit of the stuff. You can't hear it, but you'll be able to see what it looks like. It's Christmas at Winterfell. It's in the studios. All the costume department made Christmas decorations that looked like this. And here we go. Here's Dal doing his work, bringing the snow. They built a castle in the middle of Northern Ireland, and just the scale of stuff was absolutely extraordinary. So we're sort of observing Miguel like directing, but Dal is trying to get the snow done in time so they can get ready for the evening shoot with his team. But the people who work on the show don't respect the snow, so they keep like driving through his snow, and he's really pissed off about it. I really like the sort of juxtaposition of Dal trying to get on and do his work. Well, look, this is the trucks have been brought in, and he's really pissed off because he's like, a wagon wouldn't make these tracks. This is ridiculous. And because we're listening to Dal's like inner thoughts, it's like you're getting his sort of, he's talking about whether he's going to have what he's going to eat from the costume truck that evening, and he wants a piece of tissue paper but only one sheet because we already know that he's really frugal about not wasting money. So hopefully with everything that we're doing, we're showing you about a person rather than just telling you about a person, and offering you an insight by sort of leaning over the shoulder of the camera operator of what it was like to actually be on set on Game of Thrones at 4 a.m, and what it's like, because you get used to the fact that there's a castle there and that there's 500 extras charging, and you are thinking about, oh, I wonder whether there's a lasagna. Yeah, so this is like so it's all shown from Dal's point of view, and that's what we do throughout the film. If you've not seen it, I would encourage you to watch it because it's just sort of it was such a sort of it was so fun to be able to just try doing stuff that I couldn't normally afford to do, and was such a logistical challenge. We filmed 900 hours of material because we were there for 14 months on set, and it was all done in absolute secrecy, because everyone was scared that it was gonna because we'd filmed behind the scenes, we had enough material to sink the show basically. If you could scroll back up to slide 10, that would be great, please. We showed like the transformation of the guy who plays the Night King is actually like this really lovely stuntman who I used to bump into in the local shop all the time. Okay, if you go up to the seahorse poster, which is slide 10. So at the same time as making Game of Thrones The Last Watch, I was also making this film, Seahorse, The Dad Who Gave Birth. The Dad Who Gave Birth is the TV tagline that was given. We called the film Seahorse. But it tells the story of Freddie McConnell, the trans guy who gets pregnant and has a baby. Now, with Game of Thrones and also with Seahorse, these were films that found me. I was approached and asked to direct them. I get asked to direct a lot of stuff and I turn it all down. But when I met Freddie and I chatted to him, it sort of just gave me lots of opportunity to think about what it was like when I had when I was pregnant 18 years ago, and what that experience was like for me. So I said yes. I had more questions than answers, and so I said yes. And I said that I would follow Freddie throughout his pregnancy. And so a lot of the time it was just me filming, and then it was like small teams, and it was cut by the same editor as The Last Watch. So we spent, I think it was 14 months editing back to back. We cut Seahorse, then we started cutting The Last Watch in an epic sort of edit session. And both films came out within a month of each other. So I was over in New York for Tribeca. And then I came home, pretty much got my breath, and then The Last Watch came out worldwide. So it was a lot. But this ended up, we took it to cinemas, went to about 50 cinemas, and then it broadcast on BBC Two. It's coming to Mubi quite soon, and then it's going to go back on iPlayer at the end of the year. Yeah, but perhaps we could watch the trailer for this.
Yeah, of course.
I think we're missing some sound on this.
Yeah, you're right. Got to remember to do that every single time. Right, try again. This time, tick, share computer sound.
When I took the first vial of testosterone, quite quickly I was being read as male all the time. It's not about more male because more valid, it's just this is me.
He just said, I'm a boy and I want to be a boy, and I did think, oh my God, that means I won't have grandchildren from Freddie.
I've always wanted to have kids one day. Not only women feel broody, I'm going to have my own baby and I will be the dad.
I love being pregnant. Everyone should experience it, shouldn't they? Especially men.
Seriously, awful. If men had to go through this all the time, you'd just never hear the end of it. This is a film about me having a baby. But what I feel like I'm going through isn't me having a baby or pregnancy. It's like total loss of myself.
Having a wriggle again.
Oh, so exciting.
As a trans man, to carry your own child is a scary, daunting prospect. You just worry for your child, that you want them to be happy.
I just want to close my eyes and be on the other side of this.
Oh. Well done, Freddie. Well done.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so you can watch the film. Again, you can watch the film on my website. I would say that all of my films are made with the same sort of tenderness to the people that I make them with, whether they're about a panto or a television show or someone getting pregnant and having a baby. With Seahorse, it was enormously challenging. As soon as Freddie stopped taking testosterone, he had the cosmic toothache of gender dysphoria to deal with that was in many ways more painful than being pregnant. And my job as a cis woman was to listen and to try and translate that for an audience. And it was enormously challenging, but it's a film that I'm enormously proud of. I know that it's, for a lot of people don't know any trans men, especially older people, and the film, it was really important to us that the film showed at 9 o'clock on BBC Two. And that's why we accepted the commission from the BBC, because we wanted the film to have a mainstream audience. Freddie's just had his second baby and has, I think he's shifting the dial on the way that trans men are perceived publicly. And yeah, it was a really super interesting and challenging process to make the film, to make a film that respected Freddie's identity, dignity, and also didn't reinforce the terrible ways in which trans stories have been told in the past. That was really, really important, I think.
Yeah, so it's an absolutely incredible film, guys. I really, really recommend that you watch it. You mentioned earlier, Jeanie, that you're really aware of the weight of responsibility you have as a filmmaker, and how, especially in the edit, you end up shaping the way that story could be seen. So how did that come into play when making a film like this?
It was, I mean, like I said before, it's in every film, but with this one even more so. Just because Freddie signed up for the film didn't mean to say that he had to continue participating. You know, everything's a negotiation. You don't take consent for granted. I think, like in the past, you know, there's a lot of different ways of making a film, and there's a lot of unscrupulous companies out there making content. I hate that word, content. You know, where people are just sort of like a byproduct of something that's going to get you clicks. And I think that you do yourself and the people that you place in front of your camera a disservice if you don't think really seriously about that. You know, in Seahorse, you don't hear Freddie's dead name, and we don't do the cheesy side by side. You know, we deal with Freddie's sort of transition in the first 3 minutes of the film, and then like the film is like, what happens next? It's not like, ooh, trans people exist, which I think that, you know, perhaps 5 years ago, a lot of them were treating transness as like a magical makeover, which is really like not okay. And I think it's important to be constantly learning as well as a filmmaker. I learn something on every project and want to be actively learning. I'm making a film at the moment about well, I can't possibly tell you what it's about because I'd have to kill you, but it's about a woman who basically wants to change the world. And you know, I've had to learn a lot about her journey and about what she's going through, and again about the ways in which stories like hers have been told that cause harm, in order to try and not replicate that experience again. And I think it's something I would encourage all people who make public content to think about. You know, who's going to see this? Who's going to repeat it? Because, you know, music and books and films and TV are the sort of cultural milestones that help shape who we are as people, and you have to take that responsibility seriously.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Because if you have an audience, then, you know, I know that my films have an impact because people get in touch and let me know. And I always think for every one person who's got in touch, there may be, I don't know, 50, 100 who didn't click like or say something. And I think you have to take the impact of what you're doing seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm aware of your time, and I know that you do need to get away. I wondered if you had time to take a couple of student questions, or?
Yeah, of course. You can have, you've got me till 1 o'clock, and then I have to go.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay. So Molly asks, how important is it to have a connection with a topic in order to make a documentary about it?
100%.
Yeah.
You've got to eat, sleep, drink, be possessed by the film that you're making. If you're not, why not? Keep looking to find a film that you feel possessed by, because it's going to occupy your brain for 2 to 3 to 5 years. And also, you know, you'll end up doing events like this. And on Friday, I'm traveling up to Saltburn, where I'm showing 3 of my films, films that I made years ago. So I sort of feel like, yeah, you've got to have a connection.
Yeah. When you've been making documentaries, have you come across people who are really hard to interview or talk to? And do you have any approaches for sort of working with that?
Yeah, all the time. People are a nightmare. Yeah, people are really difficult, and generally the people who are difficult to talk to are the people that I want in my films. Like, I don't want the people who are really loud and tell you the same story over and over again. I want the film to be a process of discovery. Tips, oh God, I don't know really. I enjoy the challenge of trying to discover. I mean, I sort of feel like if you're interested in people, it shows. And you've got to do your research. I mean, the one tip I would say is don't show up for an interview with like a list of questions. If I'm listening to something you're saying and you say a little something, then I'll go, oh, that's great. Tell me more about that. If you're doing this, and I've been interviewed like this before, someone's just like looking at a book. They're just you just feel like you're the next on a list. You should give as much care and attention to. You just got to really care and let it. Don't be afraid to let that go. I think.
Yeah. What's it like? Genius asks, what's the pitching experience to media companies like?
Well, I don't really pitch to media companies. I pitch to broadcasters.
Yeah.
So
when you're pitching to broadcasters, how does that process work?
I mean, it could be as casual as a conversation, but often, like if you do a formal pitch at a film festival, it's usually you get 7 minutes, and so that'll be 2 minutes about who are you, who you are, and what your viewpoint is. I'm a filmmaker from Nottingham, but I make international stories, etc., etc., etc. And then you sort of usually have 3 minutes to try and sell the film, so show a clip, and then you sort of talk about where you're at with the project. And what I would normally do is, like, I do a massive amount of research and work before I try and get money on board. So, for example, with Orion, it was a film that we pitched around for a long time, and I stopped pitching it, and we got 5,000 images, and I shot 80 hours of material, and then we sort of went in for all the funding. And I just wanted to make it absolutely undeniable that even though this was a story from 1978, that it was a story that could tell us about fame and desire for fame now. And it was a story that happened before the internet. So it was a way of reflecting on that. With Seahorse, we had I mean, that was interesting. We took it to Amsterdam, to IDFA, the biggest film festival in Europe, in Amsterdam, and we pitched it to some transphobes who were just like, this is something that shouldn't exist. Like, they had ideological problems with the subject matter of the film, and you just have to roll with it and think, well, they actually need to watch the final film, probably more than those that don't. But also, like, not everyone's gonna give you the funding.
Yeah, because obviously there's been a big battle sort of for trans recognition over the last few years, and then a lot of pushback on that from certain people. Was that something you were wary about going into the project? How you might get attention from those not particularly pleasant people?
Yeah, and I felt like it was my job as an ally to stand up and to use my privilege as a cis woman with a track record that had access to broadcasters to tell this story. I do not understand why anyone would, rights are not like cake. If you give rights to trans people, it's not like there's no cake for anyone else. It's ridiculous. It's not used up. And I used to be much more live and let live, but now I'm just like, no turfs, no thank you.
So Charlotte asks, actually, which is sort of related, is there a topic that you'd want to do a documentary on, but it also might seem like it'd be too controversial or would kick up too much of a stink?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about making a film about turfs, but I also sort of feel like the death threats aren't worth it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
also, like on Twitter, on social media, I don't quote tweets people who have really abhorrent views, because I sort of feel like the oxygen of publicity is not, they're just not worth my energy. And also to quote an author that's out of step with society right now, each film is like an emotional horcrux, and you know, I wouldn't want to do something that burns into my soul in that way. I'd rather do something that's more positive, I think.
Yeah.
But you have to be realistic. You know, Freddie's court case came to light while about trying to be recognised as father on his birth certificate, and people went crazy about it. You know, the film was on the front of the Times and the Telegraph. It was in the Daily Mail the day we had like a bunch of screenings, and we were getting stalked by paparazzi. I had to leave by the back door of a screening room. But you know, I knew that once I'd got away, then my life wasn't being directly affected by people who are not, you know, that's not something I carry with me every day. But you need to be aware and acknowledge that that is the experience of a lot of trans people. Like when we showed in Russia, and there was a bomb threat called into the festival because of
Jesus.
Because of the nature of what we were going to, like Freddie was going to go, and then we were both talking about going, and then we advised not to go. This was like a year and a half ago, but because of their anti-LGBTQIA laws.
Wow. God. Yeah. So yeah, you've certainly picked a subject that is something that's going to generate a certain amount of controversy, but obviously is really, really important and hugely important that filmmakers do this. Good question from Rosie here. She asked, did you find that having a big budget, I think she's talking about The Last Watch, having a bigger budget gave you more freedom, or did you actually prefer filming something like Panto with a smaller budget?
Oh my God, no, we always want more money. I want people to be paid fairly, on time. If you've got money, you can do things like put mental health support in your budget. So everyone who works for me gets paid on the same day they invoice, and they get mental health support. Those are, you know, let's not be silly. We love the money. We love having money. Who doesn't love, like, if you have money, it gives you choices, and it means that you can make choices about who you employ, who you bring up. Otherwise, the industry is populated by publicly educated people who can afford to do expensive internships in London.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see money being spent in the regions, all over the country.
How much time do you spend with your subjects before you actually hit record?
I start filming immediately, because the camera is an unspoken contract that's what we're there to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting point that you made earlier.
The camera's there to remind you that we're there to make a film. I worry that if we spend too long on becoming friends, quote unquote, that people tell me stuff because they think I'm a nice lady, rather than remembering that anything they say may be used in a film.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a sort of a moral principle, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my camera might be there. It doesn't mean I'm always filming, but the camera's always there.
Yeah. Gabrielle asks, how much you enjoy, or do you enjoy the editing process?
Yes, I love it.
What do you love about it?
I love all aspects of making the film, from working with a composer to editing. I have quite often edit from here. So this is my office at Broadway. It's the velvet sofa which I sit on while Alice is editing. So I'm with Alice all the time, but I'm not hovering over her shoulder. So I always work with an editor. I never edit my own work. It's a hugely enormous creative part of the work. I trust her implicitly. She understands what it is I want to do. And everyone I work with brings something to the process. They're going to make the film better in one way or another. So I would encourage, there's that magic money thing. If you've got money, you can pay for an editor. Usually, like, I'm a producer on all of my films, which means that I get to control the budget and make sure that the schedule when people are getting paid and stuff. So I'll be getting on with production stuff, and then Alice we'll discuss it, we'll work on a scene, and then, so I'll do something else, and then I can turn my head when she wants me to watch something, because she doesn't want to be watched all the time. She's a grown-up and she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, a lot of directors don't ever go in the edit, they just hand the work over. And I think for me, it's a more collaborative process than that. We're gonna build something together. Like, if in fiction you do the writing before you lift a camera, in documentary you write the film in the edit.
Yeah.
That's what we're
find
doing,
the film in the edit. Yeah.
You write the film together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So just two more questions. This one's from Armina, fitting, I guess, with it being International Women's Day, was how do you know your worth, especially as a woman? That's her question. So I suppose she's driving at.
What does she mean? I want to know more about what she's on about.
Armina, what do you mean?
Turn her camera
on. She is unable to turn her camera on, but she is writing out what she means.
By worth, do you mean how much to charge?
She's typing away. I think is a question that could be interpreted many different ways.
I've got an agent, and
sorry, she's come back and said, basically, how do you make sure that no one walks all over you?
In the same way that I think that shy people can have their loud story, you can amplify their stories on screen. I also don't think that as an individual I have to shout to be heard. I've learned that being a co-producer on my work gets me not just a seat at the table, but it means that I own the table. And I bring people on board. My agent asks for the same money that he would ask for a man, and he will push for as much. There's been quite a few cases where he's pushed for much more money than I would be comfortable asking for, but that's his job, is to be a steel fist and a velvet glove, and to do the tough asking for me. But I sort of apply the principle, why not me? Why not me? Why shouldn't I have a film by Jeanie Finlay at the front of my films? The men would ask for that, and I try and think about who I bring on board on my projects. Giving opportunities to younger filmmakers. Yeah, I know my worth because I've seen the receipts. I've seen the receipts. I hope that answers your question. People are always going to try and walk all over you, but I guess sometimes you have to think about it's going back to like Columbo. If people think that I'm soft, I sort of don't care. It doesn't matter because I win in the end. If I get the film made and it gets distributed and it gets seen and I get my next film commissioned, then if people misconceive who I am, I sort of don't care. That's their problem, not mine.
I like it. And last question from Ella. It's a classic one, but it's worth asking, which is what advice you give to anyone setting out and looking for a similar career in documentary filmmaking?
Find a great story, start filming it. You want to be, I mean, I hesitate to say this given the world's events at the moment. You don't want to be all jaw, no war. I go to film festivals and I meet a lot of filmmakers who talk a great talk and they haven't made anything. I used to feel really intimidated when I go, oh my God, everyone's so confident, they've all done so much stuff. And I was like, hang on, I haven't actually seen any of the films that they've made. And then I realised, oh, they haven't made anything. So I would like, get on with it, make a good story. You know, make a small story, get it seen, build, learn, learn from what you've done and improve on it with the next film and bring your audience along the way with you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that. I thought that was incredible and absolutely brilliant to get some insights into the way you work, what motivates you, the common threads in your stories. Really enjoyed it. So thank you.
You're very welcome. If anyone is shy or they didn't have the question, I'm on social media. I'm easy to find. I'm just at Jeanie Finlay, so you can ask me there. And watch my films. Watch my films and tell other people about them, and together we can destroy the canon. You know, watch different. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, and sorry about all the tech problems.
It's fine. Don't worry.
We made it through.
Yeah,
So
we got to the end. We went in the end. It was fine.
yeah, lots of people are commenting saying how much they enjoyed it, and there's even some little digital applauses going on in this weird.
Fancy, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, I can't see your chat, so if you've got some feedback, send it to me on Twitter or on Instagram because I can't see it, and I'm a person, and it's nice to hear good things. Okay, thank you so much. Good luck.
Brilliant.
And make your films.
All right, take care. See you later. Bye.
Cheers.